Hello, my good friends. How are you today? May God bless you all. I will not introduce anything. You guys watch the video and feel it. Then let's evaluate together. The rain pounded Harlem like it had a personal vendetta, turning the streets into a maze of puddles and neon reflections. Under the flickering awning of the Harlem Hope Community Clinic, Julian Warrick, Manhattan's steel and glass tycoon, held a black umbrella over Serena Langston, a 36-year-old single mom who didn't give a damn about his bank account. Water dripped from the brim of the umbrella, soaking Julian's $5,000 Armani suit, but he didn't care. Serena, shivering in her damp scrubs, looked up at him, her deep brown eyes catching the glow of a street lamp. Her natural curls, usually tied back, clung to her face, and for a moment the world shrank to just the two of them. "Serena," Julian said, his voice low. "You're freezing." "I'm fine," she snapped, but her teeth chattered. She stepped closer under the umbrella, and the heat of her body brushed against his. Before he could say another word, Serena grabbed the lapels of his suit, pulled him down, and kissed him. It wasn't soft or tentative. It was fierce, hungry, like she'd been holding it back for weeks. Julian's hands found her waist, the umbrella tilting as rain poured over them. The kiss deepened her lips warm against the cold, and for a second, he forgot the penthouse, the boardrooms, the emptiness of his life. Serena broke away, breathing hard. Her eyes widened like she'd just realized what she'd done. "I don't know what the hell that was," she said, stepping back. "But don't think I need your money, Julian Warrick." He grinned, rain streaking down his chiseled jaw. "Good, because I want you to need me, Serena. Not my money." She shook her head, half laughing, half annoyed. "Your trouble. I gotta go." She turned, splashing through a puddle toward her beat-up Honda Civic, leaving Julian standing there, heart-pounding umbrella forgotten in his hand. 3 weeks earlier, Julian Warrick sat alone in his Upper East Side penthouse, the kind of place that screamed money louder than a Times Square billboard. The floor was Italian marble, polished to a mirror shine. A Basquiat painting, vibrant, chaotic, hung over a fireplace that cost more than most people's cars. A Bang & Olufsen's sound system hummed low, playing Miles Davis, but Julian barely noticed. He swirled a glass of 1990 Chateau Petrus, the $4,000 bottle barely denting his boredom. At 42, he was the CEO of Warrick Enterprises, dubbed the King of Steel by Forbes. He owned half of Manhattan's skyline, drove a Rolls-Royce Phantom, and wore a Patek Philippe watch that could buy a brownstone. But tonight, like most nights, he felt hollow. His phone buzzed on the glass coffee table, a text from Vanessa Langley, his ex, and a high-powered lawyer who moved in his world like a shark in a Chanel gown. "Gala at the Met tomorrow. You in?" Julian ignored it. Vanessa, with her diamond-encrusted Cartier bracelets and Upper West Side pedigree, was everything he was supposed to want. But her texts, her parties, her calculated smiles, they all felt like noise. He leaned back on the leather sofa, staring out the floor-to-ceiling windows at Central Park's dark sprawl. The city glittered below, but it wasn't enough. "Mr. Warrick." His assistant's voice crackled through the intercom. "Reminder vaccination tomorrow at Harlem Hope Clinic, 9 a.m. "Before your Dubai trip," Julian groaned. "Harlem. Really? It's the closest slot we could get," she said. "Cars booked." "Fine," he muttered, sipping his wine. Harlem wasn't his scene. His company was redeveloping parts of the neighborhood, tearing down crumbling tenements for sleek condos. But he rarely set foot there. Too messy, too real. Still, he needed the shot. Dubai was next week, and he couldn't afford to miss it. Across town in a cramped but cozy apartment in Harlem, Serena Langston tucked her 9-year-old son Noah into bed. The walls were covered with Noah's drawings, skyscrapers, pianos, and a stick-figure family that was just him and his mom. A portable speaker played Aretha Franklin's Respect, low enough not to wake the neighbors. Serena, her hair pulled into a high bun, sat on the edge of Noah's bed, smoothing his blanket. "You practiced your Bach today?" she asked, her voice warm but firm. "Yup," Noah said, grinning. "Missed a few notes, but Mr. Carter says I'm getting better. That's my boy." Serena kissed his forehead. Noah was a piano prodigy, and she'd been saving every penny for his lessons, even if it meant working double shifts at the clinic. As a black single mom, she'd learned early that the world didn't hand out favors. Her strength came from her roots, her grandmother's stories of the Great Migration, her mother's love for jazz, the community that raised her. She wore her identity like armor, from her natural curls to the African print head wraps she rocked on weekends. Downstairs in the kitchen, her best friend Keisha, a nurse at the clinic, sipped coffee from a chipped mug. Keisha was all curves and quick wit, her braids swinging as she leaned on the counter. "Girl, you need a man to loosen you up," she said, smirking. "All work and no play ain't healthy." Serena rolled her eyes, washing dishes. "I got Noah. That's enough." "What about Jamal Carter?" Keisha raised an eyebrow. "He's been eyeing you since forever. Fine, talented, and he's got that whole sensitive artist vibe. Jamal, Noah's piano teacher, was a good guy, a single dad, 38, with a warm smile and a knack for saxophone. He'd asked Serena out a few times, but she'd always dodged. "I don't need complications, Keisha." "Complications?" Keisha laughed. "You need fun. When's the last time you went on a date? Obama was president." Serena flicked soap suds at her. "Get out of my kitchen." As Keisha left, Jamal knocked on the door, dropping off sheet music for Noah. "Hey, Serena," he said, his voice soft. "There's a jazz night at Marcus Garvey Park this weekend. You and Noah should come. Maybe grab dinner after?" Serena hesitated. "I'll think about it." "Jamal, thanks." He nodded, but his eyes lingered a moment too long before he left. Serena sighed, locking the door. She didn't have time for jazz nights or men. Noah was her world, and she'd built it brick by brick. No one was going to mess that up. The next morning, the Harlem Hope Clinic buzzed with chaos. The waiting room smelled of antiseptic and coffee, its mismatched chairs filled with tired families and elderly patients. Kids' drawings, bright crayons on construction paper, decorated the walls, a splash of color against the peeling paint. Serena sat at the front desk, typing on an ancient computer, her scrubs crisp despite the long shift. She was all business, but her smile softened when she helped a mom with a fussy toddler. Julian strode in a fish out of water in his tailored Brioni suit and polished Berluti loafers. Heads turned whispers rippling through the room. He wasn't just rich. He looked like he'd stepped out of a cologne ad with sharp cheekbones, hazel eyes, and a jawline that could cut glass. Serena didn't look up, even when he cleared his throat at the desk. "Excuse me," Julian said, flashing a smile that usually opened doors. "I have an appointment." "Julian." Warrick sign in Serena, set eyes on her screen ID and insurance card. Julian blinked. He wasn't used to being ignored. "I'm kind of in a rush." "Big day. Everybody's in a rush," she said, finally glancing up. Her gaze was steady, unflinching, and for a second Julian forgot his lines. She was beautiful in a quiet way, smooth, dark skin, full lips, no makeup. Her name tag read, "Serena Langston ID." She repeated, holding out her hand. He fumbled for his wallet, handing over his platinum Amex and driver's license. "You run a tight ship," he said, trying to charm her. She raised an eyebrow, handing back his cards. "Take a seat, Mr. Warrick. We'll call you." As Julian sat, he couldn't stop watching her. Serena was kind but firm, calming the toddler's mom with a warm laugh, her voice like honey. An hour later, when his name was called, he lingered at the desk after his shot. "Thanks, Miss Langston," he said, leaning in. "You ever get a break? Maybe grab a coffee?" She didn't miss a beat. "I don't drink coffee with strangers. Have a nice day." She turned back to her computer, leaving him stunned. 2 weeks later, Julian was back, and this time he brought a check for $100,000. The clinic's director, a wiry man named Dr. Ellis, nearly dropped his coffee. "Mr. Warrick, this is incredible." "Why us?" Julian smiled, his eyes flicking to Serena at the front desk. "I believe in community health." It was half true. He donated to causes, but usually at glitzy galas where cameras flashed. This felt different. Serena, typing away, didn't look up, but he caught a flicker of curiosity in her eyes. Dr. Ellis gave him a tour, pointing out the clinic's cramped exam rooms and outdated equipment. As they passed the desk, Julian stopped. "Mrs. Langston," he said, "I'm looking for a good coffee spot around here. Any recommendations?" Serena glanced up, her expression skeptical. "There's a diner across the street. They got coffee." She paused, sizing him up. "Whatever you're selling, Mr. Warrick." "I ain't buying," he laughed, genuinely thrown. "Not selling anything, just exploring." "Sure," she said, her tone dry, and turned back to her work. Julian walked out, her words echoing in his head. Women threw themselves at him. Models, heiresses, Vanessa. But Serena acted like he was just another guy. It drove him crazy in the best way. That evening, Julian's Rolls-Royce pulled up outside the clinic, its sleek black frame gleaming under the streetlights. He'd canceled a board meeting to be here, though he wasn't sure why. As he stepped out, a group of kids playing basketball nearby spotted him. "Yo, rich dude," one shouted. "That your car? Bet it cost more than my house." Julian, caught off guard, grinned. "Probably want a closer look." The kids swarmed over, touching the chrome, asking if it had a TV inside. Serena, locking up the clinic, saw the scene and shook her head, a smile tugging at her lips. "You're gonna regret that she called. They'll have you buying 'em sneakers next." "Too late," Julian said, as one kid tried to sell him a half-eaten candy bar for $20. He pulled out his wallet, handing over a 10. The kids cheered, running off, and Serena laughed a real laugh, bright and unguarded. "Your trouble," she said, crossing her arms. "Says the woman who doesn't trust me." He shot back, stepping closer. "Why's that?" She tilted her head, her eyes sharp. "I know men like you. Money suits big talk. I got a kid to raise and bills to pay. I don't need your kind of trouble." Julian leaned against the clinic wall, unfazed. "Maybe I'm not what you think. Give me a chance to prove it." She studied him, then shook her head. "Good luck with that, Mr. Warrick." She walked to her car, but as she drove off, Julian caught the tiniest glance she threw his way. It was enough to keep him hooked. Back at his penthouse, Julian stood on the balcony, the city's lights sprawling below. His phone buzzed, another text from Vanessa. "Missed you at the Met. Call me." He deleted it. For the first time in years, his mind wasn't on deals or parties. It was on Serena Langston, the woman who saw through his money and didn't care. He didn't know why she got under his skin, but he was damn sure he'd find out. What do you think? Will Serena give Julian a shot or keep him at arm's length? Hit that subscribe button and drop a comment with your favorite moment so far. Is it the rainy kiss, Serena's epic shutdown, or Julian getting hustled by Harlem kids? Stay tuned for the next part of this steamy, heartfelt ride. The Harlem Hope Clinic was quieter than usual, the hum of fluorescent lights mixing with the occasional cough from the waiting room. Serena Langston sat at the front desk, her fingers flying over the keyboard, scheduling appointments on a computer that belonged in a museum. Her scrubs were crisp, her hair pulled into a neat bun, but her mind was elsewhere. Julian Warrick. The name had been stuck in her head for weeks, like a song she couldn't shake. That kiss in the rain. God, what was she thinking? She wasn't some starry-eyed girl falling for a rich guy's charm. She had Noah, her 9-year-old piano prodigy, and a life she'd clawed her way to build. No billionaire, no matter how fine, was gonna mess that up. Earth to Serena Keisha. Her best friend and the clinic's sassiest nurse snapped her fingers from across the desk. Her braids swung as she leaned in, smirking. You've been staring at that screen like it's gonna propose. What's up? Or should I say who? Serena rolled her eyes, shoving a stack of patient files at Keisha. Nobody just trying to get through this shift, huh? Nobody named Julian Warrick with a Rolls-Royce and a smile that could melt ice. Keisha grinned, dodging Serena's playful swat. Girl, he's been back here 3 times since that check, dropping off coffee asking about you. Man's got it bad. He's got too much time on his hands, Serena muttered, but her lips twitched. Julian had joined the clinic's board, showing up to meetings in suits that probably cost more than her rent. Yesterday he'd brought artisanal coffee from some Brooklyn roastery for the staff, handing her a cup with a grin that made her stomach flip. She'd taken it didn't mean she was falling for him. The clinic door swung open and there he was, like he'd been summoned. Julian Warrick, all 6'2" of him, strode in wearing a charcoal Brioni suit, his Patek Philippe watch glinting under the lights. The waiting room went quiet, patience whispering as he flashed that $1 million smile. Serena's heart did a traitor's skip, but she kept her face neutral. Morning, Ms. Langston, Julian said, leaning on the desk. Brought something for Noah. He slid a sleek box across the counter, a set of leather-bound books about Beethoven, Mozart, and Chopin, the kind of gift that screamed money. Serena raised an eyebrow, pushing the box back. That's sweet, but Noah's got plenty of books. We're good. Julian didn't flinch. They're first editions, thought he might like 'em for inspiration. Kid's got talent. She softened, just a fraction. Noah's piano lessons were her biggest expense, and she knew he'd lose his mind over these. I'll think about it, she said, her tone cautious. But don't expect me to owe you. Never, he said, his hazel eyes locking on hers. How about you? You owe yourself a break. Dinner, maybe. Just you and me, Serena snorted, crossing her arms. You don't quit, do you? Not when it's worth it, he shot back. And damn if that didn't make her pulse race. Before she could answer, Keisha popped up grinning like she'd won the lottery. Say yes, Serena. Man's offering free food, and I know you're tired of instant ramen, Keisha, Serena hissed. But Julian laughed, a deep, warm sound that filled the room. I'll wear her down, he said, winking at Serena. See you at the board meeting. He walked out, leaving the scent of his Tom Ford cologne in a room full of curious eyes. Keisha fanned herself. Lord, that man is fine. If you don't want him, I'll take him. Get back to work, Serena said, but she couldn't hide her smile. That evening, Julian stood in the grand ballroom of the Plaza Hotel, a sea of chandeliers and silk-draped tables. The gala was a who's who of New York's elite raising funds for some vague community initiative that mostly patted rich folks' egos. Julian, in a bespoke tuxedo, sipped a Macallan 18 from a crystal tumbler, dodging small talk. The room glittered with Hermes gowns and Harry Winston diamonds, but he was restless. His mother, Cecilia Warrick, a statuesque woman in her 60s, glided over her Tiffany pearl necklace, catching the light. Julian, darling, she said, air-kissing his cheeks. Vanessa's been asking for you. She's at the head table. Julian's jaw tightened. Vanessa Langley. His ex was a lawyer with a knack for turning every interaction into a power play. I'm not here for Vanessa. Mother Cecilia's smile didn't waver, but her eyes sharpened. You have a reputation to maintain. People are watching. Let them watch, he said, draining his drink. He'd invited Serena to the gala, a long shot, but she'd agreed mostly, he suspected, to prove she could handle his world. He scanned the crowd, and there she was, stepping through the doors. Serena Langston looked like a vision. She wore a vibrant Ankara dress, its bold patterns, a middle finger to the room's muted elegance. Her curls were loose, framing her face, and a simple gold necklace gleamed against her dark skin. Heads turned whispers following her, but she held her chin high, moving with the confidence of a woman who'd faced worse than a roomful of snobs. Julian met her halfway, ignoring the stares. "You came," he said, his voice softer than he meant. "Figured I'd see what the fuss is about," she said, her eyes scanning the room. "This place looks like a movie set. Want a tour?" he offered, extending his arm. She hesitated, then took it. "Don't get any ideas." They mingled Julian, introducing her to board members and philanthropists. Serena held her own, her wit sharp and her smile disarming. But then Vanessa Langley swept in a vision, in a sequined Versace gown, her diamond-encrusted Cartier bracelet sparkling. Her blonde hair was swept up, and her smile was all teeth. "Julian," she purred, ignoring Serena. "You've been dodging me. We need to talk about the board vote." "Later," Julian said curtly, his hand brushing Serena's arm. "Vanessa, this is Serena Langston. She's with Harlem Hope Clinic." Vanessa's eyes flicked to Serena, assessing her like a predator sizing up prey. "Charming," she said, her tone dripping with condescension. Julian's always had a soft spot for community projects. Serena's smile didn't falter. "And I'm sure you've got a soft spot for tax write-offs," she said sweetly. "This gala's got to be good for something, right?" The crowd around them chuckled, and Vanessa's face tightened. "Cute," she said, then turned to the stage where the MC was calling for speakers. "Oh, Serena, why don't you say a few words? Tell us about your little clinic." It was a trap designed to humiliate Julian. Tensed, but Serena stepped forward unfazed. "Sure," she said, taking the mic. The room went quiet, expecting a stumble. "My son Noah, he's 9. Serena began, her voice steady. Last week he tried to sell a drawing of a skyscraper to Julian for $100. Kids got hustle. Laughter rippled through the crowd. "That's what Harlem Hope is, hustle. We're not fancy, but we keep people alive. Kids like Noah. Moms like me, folks who don't have penthouses. If you're here to write checks, write 'em. If not, step aside so we can do the work." The room erupted in applause, even Cecilia clapping politely. Julian beamed, pride swelling in his chest. Vanessa, fuming, slipped away, but her eyes promised trouble. The next day, Serena was still buzzing from the gala, though she'd never admit it. She'd held her own, but Vanessa's icy stare lingered in her mind. Had she been too bold? Too black? She pushed the thought away, focusing on Noah as they walked to the Marcus Garvey Park for a community picnic. The air smelled of BBQ and fried plantains, and a jazz band played Coltrane under a canopy of oaks. Kids ran through the grass and elders swapped stories on folding chairs. This was her world, warm and real. Jamal Carter spotted them, his linen shirt rolled up to his elbows, a saxophone slung over his shoulder. At 38, he was handsome in a quiet way, his glasses giving him a scholarly vibe. "Serena, Noah," he called, waving them over. "Glad you made it." Noah ran to hug him. "Mr. Carter." I practiced the prelude. "That's my man," Jamal said, ruffling his hair. He turned to Serena, his smile softening. "You look good. That gala didn't scare you off." She laughed, smoothing her African print head wrap. "Takes more than rich folks to scare me." They joined the picnic, Serena relaxing as Noah played with other kids. Jamal sat beside her, offering a plate of ribs. "Heard you shut down some big shots last night," he said. "You're fearless." "Not really," she admitted. Just don't like being underestimated." Jamal's eyes lingered on her. "You don't need their world. Serena, you got us. Me, Noah, this community, we're enough." She shifted uneasy. Jamal had always been there, steady and safe. He understood her struggles, raising a black son, dodging microaggressions, stretching every dollar. But his words felt like a challenge, and Julian's face flashed in her mind. "I know," she said, looking away, "but sometimes I wonder what else is out there." Jamal frowned, but before he could reply, Noah ran up, tugging her hand. "Mom, they're starting the open mic." "Can I play?" "Go for it, baby," she said, grateful for the distraction. As Noah took the stage, banging out a lively Bach prelude, Serena's heart swelled, but Jamal's words echoed stirring doubts. Could she really fit into Julian's glittering, complicated world? Back at the clinic, Julian was a regular now, showing up to board meetings with plans to renovate the facility. He'd traded his Rolls-Royce for a more discreet Tesla, but his Beluti loafers still screamed money. Serena watched him from her desk, noting how he listened to Dr. Ellis, asked smart questions, remembered everyone's names. He wasn't just playing a part, he cared. It threw her off. One afternoon, as she locked up a group of kids, swarmed Julian outside, begging for a peek at his car. "Yo, mister, that's a spaceship." "One," shouted Julian. Grinning, opened the Tesla's falcon wing doors, letting them climb in. Serena leaned against the clinic door, arms crossed, trying not to laugh. "You're gonna spoil him," she called. "Too late," Julian said, handing a kid a $20 bill for a tour guide fee. The kids ran off whooping, and he turned to her. "So, about that dinner?" She shook her head, but her smile betrayed her. "You're relentless. Part of my charm," he said, stepping closer. "One meal, Serena." "No strings." She studied him, her guard wavering. "I'll think about it, but don't hold your breath." As she walked to her car, Keisha's voice rang in her head. "Man's offering free food, and you're playing hard to get." Maybe she was, but Serena had learned the hard way. Men like Julian came with baggage, and she wasn't sure she could carry it. That night, Julian sat in his penthouse, the city's lights sprawling below. He'd canceled a Dubai trip to stay in New York, a first for him. Serena was under his skin, her strength, her laugh, the way she didn't need him. But Vanessa's venom at the gala, and Jamal's presence at the picnic he'd seen them together laughing like they belonged, made him uneasy. He wasn't used to competition, and he sure as hell wasn't used to losing. His phone buzzed, a text from Vanessa. "Saw your new friend at the gala. Cute, but out of her league. Call me." He deleted it, but her words stung. Serena wasn't out of anyone's league. She was in a league of her own. The question was, could he convince her to let him in? The penthouse was a cathedral of wealth, its marble floors reflecting the glow of a Swarovski chandelier. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed Manhattan's skyline, a glittering mosaic of steel and light. Julian Warrick stood in the kitchen sleeves of his $800 Zegna shirt rolled up, cursing under his breath as he stirred a pot of marinara sauce. The air smelled of garlic and desperation. He'd decided to cook for Serena Langston and her son Noah, a move so far out of his comfort zone it might as well have been on Mars. His usual team of private chefs was on standby, but tonight he wanted it to be real. No staff, no show, just him, Serena, and a kid who'd stolen his heart with a piano and a grin. Serena stepped out of the elevator, Noah clutching her hand. She wore a simple black dress that hugged her curves, her curls loose and framing her face. Noah, in a button-up shirt that was slightly too big, gawked at the penthouse. "Mom, this place is like Tony Stark's house," he said, eyes wide. Julian laughed, wiping his hands on a dish towel. "Welcome to the tower, kid. You like pasta?" "Love it," Noah said, running to the windows. "Can you see my school from here?" Serena raised an eyebrow. taking in the opulence, the Basquiat painting, the leather sectional that probably cost more than her car. "You sure you know what you're doing in that kitchen?" "Warrick?" She teased, her voice playful but guarded. "Trust me," Julian said, though his confidence wobbled as he caught a whiff of something burning. "Shit. Shoot," he corrected, glancing at Noah. Serena smirked, leaning against the counter. "Real smooth," she said. "Noah, go check out the view. Don't touch anything." As Noah pressed his nose to the glass, Julian lowered his voice. "You look incredible, Serena." She crossed her arms, but her cheeks warmed. "Don't get used to it. I'm here for the food, not your compliments, liar," he said, stepping closer. Their eyes locked, the air crackling. For a moment he thought she might kiss him again, like she had in the rain, but then smoke curled from the stove and the fire alarm blared, shattering. The moment, damn it, Julian lunged for the pot, yanking it off the burner. Serena burst out laughing, grabbing a towel to fan the smoke. Noah ran over, giggling. "Mom, he's burning the house down. Out of the way." "Iron Man," Serena said, taking charge. She opened windows, silenced the alarm, and tossed the charred sauce in the sink. Julian stood there, sheepish, as she shook her head. "I thought billionaires hired chefs. I wanted to do this myself," he said, rubbing his neck. "For you, for Noah." Her laughter faded, replaced by something softer. "That's sweet," she said, almost like she didn't trust the word. "But we're ordering pizza." No arguments. An hour later, they sat on the sectional pizza boxes scattered on the coffee table. Noah chattered about his piano recital sauce on his chin, while Julian listened, genuinely engrossed. Serena watched them, her guard slipping. Julian wasn't just a rich guy tonight. He was a man trying. And damn if that didn't tug at her heart. After Noah fell asleep on the couch, Julian poured 2 glasses of Chateau Margaux from a bottle that cost more than Serena's rent. They moved to the balcony, the city's lights stretching below. The air was cool, and Julian offered her his jacket, draping it over her shoulders. She didn't protest. "Thanks for tonight," she said, sipping the wine. "Noah had fun." "And you?" he asked, leaning against the railing, his hazel eyes searching hers. She hesitated, the wineglass cool against her fingers. "I'm still figuring you out, Julian. You're not what I expected." "Good or bad?" he pressed, stepping closer. "Both," she said, her voice low. "You scare me?" He frowned, surprised. "Scare you, Serena? I'd never hurt you." "Not like that," she said, looking out at the skyline. "You're big, your world, your money, your life. I'm a single mom from Harlem. I've been hurt before. Noah's dad, he left when I got pregnant. Said he wasn't ready. I can't let someone in who might walk away." Julian set his glass down, turning her to face him. "I'm not him. I'm not going anywhere." She searched his eyes, her breath catching. The space between them vanished, and this time he kissed her. It was slow at first, tentative, but then she deepened it, her hands sliding up his chest, unbuttoning his shirt. His fingers found the zipper of her dress, easing it down until the fabric pooled at her feet. They stumbled back to the sectional, the city's glow spilling through the windows. Her skin was warm under his touch, her breath hitching as he kissed her neck. "Serena," he murmured, pausing to meet her gaze. "Tell me, this is what you want?" She nodded, her voice husky. "I want it. But it has to mean something." "It does," he said, his lips brushing hers. "You mean everything." They sank into each other, the moment raw and electric, but Serena pulled back before it went too far, her chest heaving. "I need to know this is real," she whispered. "For me and Noah, it's real." Julian promised, kissing her forehead. "I'll prove it." The next morning, Serena was back at Harlem. Hope, her head spinning. The night with Julian, pizza wine. That kiss felt like a dream, but the real world was waiting. Patience shuffled in, the phone rang non-stop, and Keisha was already grilling her. "Spill it," Keisha said, plopping a stack of charts on the desk. "You went to his penthouse. Did he pull out the billionaire moves? Private jet? Diamond ring?" Serena laughed, shaking her head. "Pizza and a burnt sauce." "That's it. Lies," Keisha said, eyes wide. "You're blushing, girl. What happened?" Before Serena could answer, the clinic door opened and Jamal Carter walked in carrying a stack of sheet music for Noah's lessons. His smile faltered when he saw Serena's flushed cheeks. "Hey," he said, his tone cautious. "Everything okay?" "Yeah," Serena said, tucking a curl behind her ear. "Just a long night." Jamal's eyes narrowed. "Heard you were at Warrick's place. You sure about that guy, Serena? He's not one of us?" She bristled, her guard going up. "I can handle my own life, Jamal." "Thanks." He held up his hands, backing off. "Just looking out for you, Noah, too." He handed her the music and left, but his words lingered, stirring doubts. Jamal knew her world. Harlem, the struggle, the pride of their community. Julian's penthouse, his gala, his money. Could she really belong there? Julian was riding high, replaying the night in his mind as he strode into Warrick Enterprises' Midtown headquarters. The office was all glass and steel with a view of the Empire State Building. He'd canceled another Dubai meeting to focus on the clinic's renovation plans, a move that had his board grumbling. His assistant Margaret handed him a tablet with the day's agenda, but his phone buzzed with a text from Vanessa Langley. "Check the news." "You're welcome." His stomach dropped. He opened the New York Gossip app, and there it was, a screaming headline. "Billionaire Warrick's Harlem fling, single mom with a shady past." A grainy photo showed him and Serena at the plaza, her Ankara dress vibrant against his tux. The article dug into Serena's life, claiming she'd been fired from a hospital years ago for unprofessional conduct. A lie, Julian knew, but the truth didn't matter in a hit piece like this. It painted her as a gold digger, a nobody chasing his fortune. Son of a Julian slammed the tablet down, dialing Vanessa. She picked up on the first ring, her voice syrupy. "Problem, darling?" she asked. "You did this," he growled. "What the hell?" "Vanessa. Just protecting you," she said. "She's not your type, Julian. The board's already talking. You want to lose everything for a fling? This isn't a fling," he snapped. "Stay out of my life." He hung up his mind, racing Serena, Noah. They'd see this, everyone would. At the clinic, Serena's world was unraveling. Co-workers whispered behind her back. Patience gave her side-eye, and her phone buzzed with a call from Noah's school. "Ms. Langston," the principal said. "Some kids are teasing Noah about an article. He's upset." Serena's heart sank. She grabbed her phone, pulling up the gossip piece. The words hit like punches. "Opportunist scandal, not fit for high society." Her hands shook as she read about the hospital firing a trumped-up charge from years ago when a racist supervisor had targeted her. She'd fought it, won a settlement, but the truth was buried under the article's venom. Keisha stormed over, furious. "This is bullshit. Who leaked this?" "Vanessa." Serena set her voice tight. "Has to be. That witch." Keisha said, "You gotta fight back, Serena. Call Warrick. He'll fix this." Serena shook her head, tears stinging her eyes. "I don't need him to fix my life. I need this to stop." She stepped outside, needing air, and found Julian pulling up in his Tesla. He jumped out, his face pale. "Serena, I saw the article. I'm so sorry. I'll get my lawyers." "Lawyers?" She cut him off, her voice rising. "This isn't about lawsuits, Julian. This is my life, Noah's life. Kids are bullying him because of this. This garbage. I'll make it go away, he said, reaching for her. I promise. She stepped back, her eyes blazing. Your promises don't mean shit when my son's crying. Your world, it's too loud, too messy. I should have known better. Serena, please, he said, his voice breaking. Don't let Vanessa win. Don't let this ruin us. There's no us, she said, though the words cut her as much as they did him. I gotta protect my kid. Stay away, Julian. She turned, walking back into the clinic, her heart pounding. Julian stood frozen, the weight of her words crushing him. He'd thought he could bridge their worlds, but now it felt like they were further apart than ever. Back at her apartment, Serena hugged Noah, who was quiet, his eyes red. Mom, is Mr. Warrick a bad guy? He asked, clutching his piano sheet music. No, baby, she said, kissing his forehead. He's just from a different place. Noah nodded, but his question lingered. Serena stared out the window. The Harlem skyline, a mix of old brownstones and new condos. She'd let herself dream just for a moment of something more with Julian. But the scandal, the whispers, the judgment reminded her why she'd built walls. She was a black woman, a mother, a survivor. She didn't need his world. But why did losing him hurt so much? The Harlem Hope Clinic felt colder than usual, the hum of the ancient heater barely cutting through the chill. Serena Langston sat at the front desk, her eyes fixed on the computer screen, but her mind was 1,000 miles away. The New York gossip article had turned her life into a circus. Co-workers tiptoed around her patients, whispered, and Noah's school kept calling about incidents with other kids. Her phone buzzed with a text from Keisha. You okay, girl? Need me to cuss out that blonde witch? Serena managed a weak smile but didn't reply. She was drowning, and the one person she wanted to reach for, Julian Warrick, was the one she couldn't afford to trust. Outside Harlem moved on, oblivious to her turmoil. Street vendors hawked roasted peanuts. Kids played pickup basketball, and the faint pulse of hip-hop drifted from a passing car. Serena clung to this world, her world built on grit and pride. But Julian's world, with its penthouses and paparazzi, had crashed into hers, and the wreckage was everywhere. She'd let herself fall for him, let herself dream, and now Noah was paying the price. Never again. The clinic door swung open, and Jamal Carter walked in, his saxophone case slung over his shoulder. His glasses glinted under the fluorescent lights, and his smile was warm, but cautious. Hey, Serena, he said, setting a flyer on the desk. Noah's recital's coming up. Thought you'd want this? Thanks, she said, her voice flat. She took the flyer, avoiding his eyes. Jamal lingered, leaning on the counter. You don't look okay? That article. It's bullshit. You don't deserve this. She shrugged her throat tight. Doesn't matter what I deserve. It's out there. He frowned, his voice softening. You don't have to deal with this alone. Me, Noah. The community. We got you. That Warrick guy. He's bringing all this heat. You sure he's worth it? Serena's chest ached. Jamal was steady, safe. A man who understood her roots. He'd been there through her worst days, always ready with a kind word or a melody. But he wasn't Julian, and that was the problem. I don't know what's worth it anymore. She admitted, her voice barely a whisper. Jamal reached for her hand, his touch gentle. Come to the recital. Let's keep things simple, like it used to be. Just you, me, Noah. No headlines, no drama. She pulled her hand back, forcing a smile. I'll be there for Noah, always. He nodded, but his eyes held a flicker of hurt. I'm here, Serena. Whenever you're ready. He left the door jingling behind him, and Serena buried her face in her hands. She wanted simple, but her heart wasn't cooperating. Julian's office at Warrick Enterprises was a fortress of glass and steel, the midtown skyline sprawling beyond his desk. He hadn't slept in days, the gossip article burning a hole in his mind. He'd hired a PR firm to bury it, but the damage was done. Serena's words, "There's no us," played on a loop, each one a knife. He'd thought he could protect her, but he'd only made things worse. His mother, Cecilia, Warrick, swept in unannounced, her Prada coat draped over her shoulders like royalty. Her Tiffany pearl necklace gleamed and her expression was pure ice. "Julian," she said, settling into a leather chair, "this has gone far enough." He didn't look up from his laptop. "If you're here about the board, I've got it handled. I'm here about her," Cecilia said, tossing a copy of the gossip on his desk. "This woman, a single mother from Harlem. Really, Julian, you're risking our name, our legacy for a fling." Julian's jaw clenched. "She's not a fling. And her name is Serena Langston." Cecilia's eyes narrowed. "You sound like your father throwing away opportunities for sentiment. He wasted his life in clinics and look where it got him, dead at 60 with nothing to show for it. I won't let you make the same mistakes." Julian stood, his voice low and dangerous. "Don't talk about Dad like that, and don't tell me who I can love. This conversation's over." Cecilia rose unfazed. "The board's watching. Vanessa's talking to them and they're not happy. Fix this, or you'll lose everything." She left, her heels clicking like a countdown. Julian sank into his chair, his head pounding Vanessa. Of course she was behind this, stirring the pot to get him back in line. He dialed Serena, but it went to voicemail. He couldn't blame her. She'd made it clear she wanted space, but space felt like a chasm, and he was falling. That evening, Serena sat on a bench in Central Park, the moon casting silver ripples on the lake. She'd asked Julian to meet her here, away from the clinic, away from prying eyes. The air was crisp, carrying the scent of wet leaves and distant hot dog carts. She wore a denim jacket over her scrubs, her curls tucked under a head wrap. Her heart was a war zone, anger, fear, and something she hated admitting. Longing. Julian arrived, his usual polish replaced by exhaustion. His Burberry coat was unbuttoned, his tie loose. He sat beside her, keeping a careful distance. "Serena," he said, his voice raw. "I'm so sorry. I never meant for this to happen." She stared at the lake, her hands clenched. "I know, but it did Noah's getting bullied. Julian, my kid who never hurt anyone is crying because of that damn article. Because of us. I'll fix it," he said, leaning forward. "My lawyers are on it. I'll sue the gossip. Get a retraction. It's not about lawsuits," she snapped, turning to him. Her eyes blazed tears, threatening. "This is my life, my son's life. People look at me different now, at the clinic, at the store, everywhere. They think I'm some gold digger chasing your money. And Noah, he doesn't deserve this." Julian reached for her, but she pulled away. "Serena, please, I'll protect you both. I have people resources. Your resources are the problem," she said, standing. "Your world, it's too big, too loud. I'm a black woman from Harlem. Julian, I've fought for everything I have. I can't fight your battles too." He stood, his voice breaking. "Don't let Vanessa win. Don't let this tear us apart. What we have, it's real." "You know it is," she shook her head, tears spilling now. "What we have hurts, my son. I can't do this. I have to protect Noah." "Serena," he pleaded, stepping closer. "I love you. I love Noah. Don't walk away." The words hit her like a punch. Love. She wanted to believe him, wanted to fall into his arms and let him make it all okay. But she saw Noah's face, his red eyes, his quiet pain. "I'm sorry," she whispered, her voice cracking. "Goodbye, Julian." She turned, walking away, the crunch of leaves under her sneakers, deafening. Julian stood frozen, the moonlight blurring as his eyes stung. For the first time in his life, money couldn't fix what was broken. He'd given Serena his heart, and she'd walked away with it. The next day, Serena took Noah to his piano recital at the community center, a low brick building filled with folding chairs and proud parents. The air smelled of coffee and perfume, and a banner read, "Harlem, Young Artists, Showcase." Noah, in his too big suit, fidgeted backstage, clutching his sheet music. Serena sat in the front row, her heart heavy, but her smile fixed for her son. Jamal Carter was there, directing the kids with his usual calm. He caught Serena's eye, offering a gentle nod. After the recital, he found her in the lobby, Noah chattering about his performance. "You did great, man," Jamal said, high-fiving Noah. He turned to Serena, his voice low. "You holding up?" "Barely," she admitted, glancing at Noah, who was showing his certificate to a friend. "This whole thing, it's a mess." Jamal hesitated, then said, "There's a jazz night at Red Rooster tomorrow. Just us. No pressure. You and Noah could use a break." Serena looked at him, his steady presence a lifeline. Jamal was everything. Julian wasn't grounded, familiar part of her world. For a moment she imagined saying yes, slipping back into the comfort of her community. "Okay," she said, surprising herself. "Dinner sounds good." Jamal's face lit up. But as they left, Serena's heart twisted. She'd chosen safety. But why did it feel like a betrayal? Julian drove through Harlem, his Tesla silent against the city's noise. He'd been doing this for days, cruising past the clinic, hoping for a glimpse of Serena. He didn't stop. Her words had been clear, but he couldn't let go. Today he saw her outside the community center laughing with Noah and Jamal. Jamal's arm brushed hers and Julian's grip tightened on the wheel. He pulled over his chest, aching. He wasn't jealous, not exactly. He was scared. Scared he'd lost her for good. His phone rang. Margaret, his assistant, Mr. Warrick. "The board's calling an emergency meeting. They're pissed about the scandal, and Vanessa's stirring things up." "Let her," Julian said, his voice hollow. "I've got bigger problems." He hung up, staring at the center. Noah ran out waving his certificate, and Serena hugged him, her smile radiant. Julian wanted to be part of that, not just as a donor or a fling, but as family. But how when she'd shut him out? That night, Serena sat in her apartment, Aretha Franklin's voice filling the silence. Noah was asleep, his certificate propped on his nightstand. She opened her laptop, the gossip article still trending. Comments called her a hustler, a nobody. She slammed the laptop shut, tears falling. She'd done the right thing protecting Noah. But why did it feel so wrong? Her phone buzzed a voicemail from Julian. She hesitated, then played it. "Serena," he said, his voice rough. "I know you need space. I respect that. But I'm not giving up. Not on you. Not on Noah. I'll wait as long as it takes." The message ended, and she clutched the phone, her resolve wavering. She wanted to call him to say she was scared but willing to try. But Noah's face stopped her. She deleted the voicemail, her heart breaking all over again. The pages were filled with his father's neat handwriting words that cut deeper than any boardroom deal. Helping others is the only way to find yourself. Money buys things, but only love builds a life. Julian sank onto the leather sectional, his $2,000 Brioni shirt rumpled from a sleepless night. The New York gossip scandal had left scars on Serena, on Noah, on him. Her words in Central Park. "There's no us" still stung, but his father's journal was a lifeline. Caleb had believed in him even when Julian chose skyscrapers over stethoscopes. Now, with Serena slipping away, Julian knew he had to change, not just for her, but for himself. His phone buzzed a text from Margaret, his assistant. "Board meeting at 10. Vanessa's pushing for a vote." Julian ignored it. Vanessa Langley's schemes could wait. He opened the journal again, landing on a line. Find what matters and fight for it. That's what he'd do. For Serena, for Noah, for the man he wanted to be. At the Harlem Hope Clinic, Serena Langston was on autopilot. She typed patient records, her scrubs crisp, despite the chaos in her heart. The scandal had faded from the headlines, but the whispers lingered. Co-workers treated her like glass, and Noah's school reported fewer bullying incidents. But the damage was done. She'd pushed Julian away to protect her son, but the emptiness was suffocating. Every time the clinic door opened, she half hoped it was him, half dreaded it Keisha. Her best friend slid a coffee across the desk, her braids swinging. "You look like you need this more than me," she said, eyeing Serena, still moping over Mr. Billionaire. "I'm not moping," Serena snapped, but her voice lacked conviction. She sipped the coffee, wincing at its bitterness. "I did what I had to do. Noah comes first." "Uh-huh," Keisha said, leaning in. "But you miss him. He's gotta stop," she muttered, though her fingers lingered on the petals. Julian stood in the Ritz-Carlton's grand ballroom, its red carpet and crystal chandeliers, a stark contrast to the clinic's peeling paint. Reporters crowded the room, cameras flashing as he stepped to the podium. His suit was Tom Ford, tailored to perfection, but his eyes carried a new weight. The board had fought him on this, Vanessa whispering poison in their ears, but he didn't care. This was bigger than them. "Thank you for coming," he said, his voice steady. "Today I'm announcing the Caleb Warrick Foundation, named for my father, a doctor who believed in community health. We're starting with a $10 million grant to Harlem Hope Clinic, with more to follow for clinics across the city. I'm also stepping down as CEO of Warrick Enterprises. Margaret Chen will take over effective immediately." The room erupted, reporters shouting questions. Julian ignored them, his eyes scanning the crowd for Serena. For her, Julian didn't stop. "I'm building something better." At the clinic, Serena watched the press conference on her phone, her heart pounding. Julian's words echoed in her mind. "She saved me." Keisha, peering over her shoulder, whistled. "Damn girl. He's out here putting it all on the line. You gonna call him or what?" Serena shook her head, her throat tight. "I can't. Not yet." But Noah had other plans. That afternoon, he burst into the clinic, his backpack bouncing. "Mom, Mr. Warrick sent me a video. He's coming to my recital." He held up his phone, showing a clip of Julian, tie loosened, sitting at a piano. "Noah," Julian said in the video, "I'm practicing for your big day. Don't laugh too hard." He played a clumsy version of "Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star," missing half the notes, and Noah giggled. Serena's eyes softened, but her resolve held. "That's nice, baby, but we're keeping things simple." "Okay?" Noah frowned. "But he's my friend. He drew a skyscraper on my cast. He's not like those mean kids at school." She hugged him, her heart twisting. Noah's trust in Julian was a reminder of what she'd lost and what she was too scared to reclaim. The recital was at the Apollo Theater, a Harlem legend with red velvet seats and a stage that had hosted legends like Ella Fitzgerald. The air buzzed with excitement, parents snapping photos, kids practicing scales backstage. Serena sat in the third row, her Ankara head wrap vibrant against her denim jacket. Noah was nervous, his fingers tapping his leg, but his eyes lit up when he saw Jamal Carter, who was directing the event. "You got this, man," Jamal said, adjusting Noah's tie. He glanced at Serena, his smile tentative. "You look good." "Thanks," she said, her mind elsewhere. She'd been replaying Julian's press conference, his voice, his sacrifice. It scared her how much she wanted to believe him. The lights dimmed and Noah took the stage, his small frame dwarfed by the grand piano. He played Bach's Prelude in C major, his fingers dancing with a grace that silenced the room. Serena's eyes welled up, pride swelling in her chest. When he finished, the crowd roared and she stood clapping until her hands hurt. As Noah bowed, a familiar figure slipped into the back row. Julian, he was understated tonight. No suit, just a cashmere sweater and jeans. His Patek Philippe. The only hint of wealth Serena's breath caught, but she didn't turn. Noah spotted him waving wildly, and Julian waved back, his smile warm. After the recital, Noah dragged Serena to the lobby where Julian waited, holding a single white rose. "You were incredible, Noah," he said, handing him the flower. "Bach would be proud." "Thanks, Mr. Warrick," Noah said, beaming. "You gonna play with me next time?" Julian laughed, glancing at Serena. "If your mom's cool with it." Serena crossed her arms, her heart racing. "What are you doing here, Julian?" "I couldn't miss this," he said, his voice soft. "And I meant what I said at the press conference. I'm changing Serena, for me, for you, for Noah." She wanted to push him away, to cling to her walls, but his eyes, honest, vulnerable, made it hard. "I need time," she said finally. It's a lot." After dinner, Noah showed him his piano, and Julian sat at the bench attempting a duet. It was a disaster. Wrong notes, offbeat timing. But Noah laughed so hard he fell off the bench, and Serena couldn't help joining in. "Stick to skyscrapers, Warrick," she teased, but her smile was real. As Keisha took Noah to bed, Julian helped Serena clean up their hands, brushing over the dishes. "Thanks for letting me be here," he said, his voice low. "I know it's not easy." She looked at him, her walls crumbling. "You're making it hard to stay mad," she admitted. "But I'm still scared, Julian. For Noah, for me." "I get it," he said, drying a plate. "But I'm not your ex. I'm not Vanessa. I'm just a guy who's crazy about you and your kid." She didn't reply, but as he left, she caught his hand, squeezing it briefly. "Good night, Julian," she said, and the warmth in her voice gave him hope. The next day, Julian faced the board at Warrick Enterprises. The conference room was a sleek expanse of glass, the table lined with suits who smelled blood. Vanessa was there, her Chanel suit pristine, her smile venomous. "Julian's lost focus," she said, sliding the gossip article across the table. "This foundation, this woman, it's bad for business." Julian stood, his voice calm but steel-edged. "Profits are up 12%. The Harlem projects boosted our PR. If you're scared of a tabloid, that's your problem, not mine." He turned to Vanessa.